Because the internet's full of all these jokes, you know, with Chuck Norris. I mean, it's like, I had like 300 pages of them, but I had to like whittle it down to everything. Which, by the way, you will not be clapping for Chuck Norris shortly. Your hands will automatically start flapping by themselves as soon as I introduce him, all right? When the boogeyman goes to sleep at night, he checks the closet to make sure Chuck Norris isn't inside, right? He's the only man who can light a fire by rubbing 2 ice cubes. Nice. The man who can cut through a hot knife with butter. Yeah. The man who doesn't wear a watch because he says what time it is. Yeah. And I understand that Governor Abbott has a 2-word solution for the border crisis, the immigration crisis, and especially the infiltration of all these coyotes and stuff like that. The 2-word solution: Chuck Norris. Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Norris. Thank you.
Yeah, these Chuck Norris facts started about 8 years ago. Some college kid from Brown University sent me 3 of these Chuck Norris facts. And so Gina and I, this is my wife Gina. And Gina and I were reading them, and the very first one I read, it said they wanted to put Chuck Norris on Mount Rushmore, but the granite wasn't tough enough for his knee. And I said, man, that's pretty funny. But so anyway, we thought, well, this is nice, 3 Chuck Norris facts. Well, then all of a sudden, the college kids kind of gravitated to it. Next thing you know, we're reading hundreds of them, and they went all the way around to every university and high school in the States, and then to the high schools, and then to the middle schools, and actually, yeah, to the military. And in fact, I got a call from the commandant in 2006, and he said, Chuck, the troops are driving me crazy. All they want to do is say these Chuck Norris facts, you know. Said, would you be interested in coming over on a tour? I said, yeah, I would be glad to, Commander General, if I can go anywhere I want to go. I don't want to be stuck on a big base, Fallujah and Mosul and all that. I want to be able to go out on the borders of Iran and Syria, and go see the troops that celebrities don't go see. So we agreed, and so I went over there in 2006, and then I went around to 18 bases and shook hands with over 20,000 troops. Yeah. All right. And then I went over again in 2007 and went to 20 different bases. And so what I do is I shake hands, and then they take a picture and move on. So I have a group of Marines now that want to take a picture. So a Marine walks up to me and says, "Brown kicked me in the head." I go, man, I can't start that. I said, I have a better idea. I spun him around, I got him in a chokehold. And so they took a picture of him and he walked off. Next Marine comes up, get me in a chokehold. So now every Marine, I'm getting in a chokehold.
I want to be in a chokehold.
About the 30th Marine, I get him in a chokehold. Well, the guy starts changing the film in the camera. So I'm just kind of lounging there, holding him in a chokehold. All of a sudden, I feel the weight drop. I choked him unconscious. So he's lying on the ground, and all of his buddies are taking pictures of him, unconscious. So I pump him back to life. I get him up, and he wobbles off. And I said, that's it. No more chokeholds, you know. But one of my greatest experiences were those 2 trips to Iraq, because it was incredible. In fact, one guy I took a picture with, and he said he had a shotgun. And he walked up to the camera. He says, I don't use buckshot. I use chuck shot. But, you know, the thing is, to get serious here, this is very serious. And this, we've got, you know, we have seen what poor leadership has done to our country.
Right.
We cannot let that happen to Texas. So Gina and I would like to ask each and every one of you not only to vote, but to get your family, your friends, your neighbors, everyone out and get them all out to vote. Because we cannot afford to not get this guy elected. It's very, very important. Because the thing is, we need a person of experience and leadership to be able to keep Texas number one. Texas is number one, right? Out of the 50 states, we're number one. And we're not 57.
That's right.
So anyway, let's support the man who can keep this state the best that it can possibly be, and that's Greg Abbott.
Thank you, RGV. Thank you for this capacity crowd. No one works harder in the election process than the RGV. Because of you, we are going to win the RGV this election cycle. I want to thank my good friend Chuck Norris for being here. Now, as you all know, today is Halloween, which has always been a fun time for me and my daughter, who is now 17 years old. One thing I like to do is have a lot of fun with my wheelchair on Halloween. It's a great source for costumes. A few years ago, I dressed my wheelchair up as a tank. Then one time we dressed the wheelchair up as a shopping cart with bags on the inside. My wife was pushing me down the street like we were in a grocery store. This year I'm wearing something else. Tonight I'm going as the next governor for the great state of Texas. Now, as my tenure as your Attorney General is coming to an end, I want to tell you how much I've been honored to serve as the Attorney General for the great state of Texas. As your Attorney General, I have been fighting for the liberty of people here in South Texas against an overreaching federal government that's been trying to run too much of your lives and take too much of your money. And I've elevated the Texas child support system to be ranked #1 in the United States of America. And I fought all the way to the United States Supreme Court to defend the 10 Commandments monument on the Texas Capitol grounds, and we won. And now I'm fighting for something that I know for a fact the people in the Rio Grande Valley care as much as anybody else in the state of Texas. I'm fighting against the federal government to ensure the integrity of the election that's going to take place right now by assuring that photo identification is going to be required during this election process. We're here to remind everybody what is at stake, because we have seen the way that my opponent has tied herself to Barack Obama's liberal agenda. She's voted to raise taxes. She's voted to impose heavy-handed regulations that crush the job growth that we have seen in this state. And we've seen the way that she has voted against
your Second Amendment rights, and even voted to keep God out of the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, don't you worry, because I am not going to let the next 4 years in Texas look like the last 6 years under Barack Obama, because we are going to win this election. And when we do, we will keep Texas #1 in the nation for creating jobs, including jobs right here in the RGV. You know, I look around this room and I see so many women who are here, especially young Latinas. They seem like they're in their 20s or younger. That's you. I said teens, right? All right. But I want you to know this number, and that is Texas has more than 737,000 women-owned businesses,
right here,
ranked #2 in the nation. As your governor, I want Texas to become #1 in the nation for women-owned businesses. Also, I want to ensure that we improve our schools. Amen. You know, there are two categories of people I like to recognize at events like this. One is the group of people who've ensured the freedom that we get to have democracy in elections in the first place, and those are the men and women who fought in our United States military. If you've ever served in the military, will you raise your hand and wave it so we can thank you for your service? Now, another group I like to recognize are the men and women who've ensured a brighter future for the next generation. And those are the men and women who've been teachers in classrooms here in Texas. If you've ever been a teacher in a classroom, would you wave your hand and let us thank you? I want you to know that my wife is one of you. My wife has been both a teacher and a principal. And we've seen firsthand the way that education can transform the lives of children so they can achieve dreams their parents couldn't even think were possible. And we will elevate Texas education higher than it's ever been before. The way I say it is, Chuck Norris pointed out how Texas is #1 for so many things. We are #1 for jobs. We are #1 for energy. We are #1 for farms, for exports, for so many different things. The time has come for Texas to make our classrooms #1 in the nation. We will achieve that goal together. And I can assure you that as your next governor, I will not allow Common Core in Texas schools. But none of this will happen if you do not turn out and vote. Now, we know we're ahead in the polls, but let me tell you, polls do not win elections. Only one thing wins elections: votes. Now, the people in this room, you all know that Barack Obama's Battleground Texas operation has been here in the RGV. But we know that conservative Republican volunteers beat Barack Obama's paid operatives every single time. I need your help. How many of you in the room have already voted early? That is outstanding. Now, if you haven't voted, I need you to not wait until Tuesday. I need you to go vote today. And then after you do that, I need everyone in this room, and for those of you outside the room too, we need everyone to get 5 more people to go cast a vote either today or next Tuesday. And if you do that, if you can multiply your forces, if you can turn out a record number of votes for me in the RGV, you personally will be part of making Texas history. Because on Tuesday night, shortly after 7 o'clock, we together will be able to say that my wife is the first Hispanic First Lady in the history of the great state of Texas. My family is like so many of those in the RGV. We are multicultural, and I will ensure you that we will represent the multicultural values that have elevated Texas to be the #1 state in the nation. I will be a governor for all people, of every region, of every race, of every zip code, and together we will keep Texas the best state in the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the great state of Texas.